Sunil, welcome to the studio. It's always a pleasure. Is Kemi Badenoch right, do you think, in this stampede for inclusion and diversity? Some people have simply been left behind, and that includes white men, and particularly the working classes.
Definitely. If you look at all stats, it pretty much supports this. So if we're looking on GCSE level, we now see that Black, Asian and pretty much all minority ethnic groups outperform white British people. In particular, white boys are scoring very poorly when it comes to numeracy rates, literacy rates. So she's 100% right in terms of this obsession with diversity and inclusion. It's letting down the vast majority of the country, which is predominantly white.
And Sunil, common sense, thank you for even saying it. It feels like a victory to even have these words, but it is true. It is true. And I know from my own journey into politics before I got into broadcasting, there's still no initiatives out there to help, particularly those white working class lads, the least likely demographic to finish with GCSEs, go to A-levels and go to university, being left behind, being forgotten. No one's helping them because what? It might be seen as racist.
For sure, and it goes even further because naturally if their education is low, they're likely to be doing as well professionally. So we even look at in terms of professional jobs, managerial jobs, white British people are scoring lower and lower. So here's a stat for you. In terms of white British people that are in professional jobs, there's about 25%, Asians 33%, black community slightly lower, 24.7%, but it's a very minute difference. But you've got to remember more than 80% of this country is white. I know in London and big cities like Birmingham that isn't the case, but the majority of this country is white. And when you have a workforce and an education on, particularly for the largest demographic of people struggling, that is really pretty terrible for our country and something that really needs to be addressed.
And Sunil, Kemi Badenoch singles out concepts such as white privilege. And reading those stats out there, looking through the prism of reality and not diversity, you might think, well, when does this white privilege kick in?
Well, I think this is an obsession and needs to stop in terms of talking about white privilege. So we can, again, this goes further. If we look at professional, economic, in terms of going to prison, socially, on almost every aspect, we're seeing British white people on a downward trajectory. And I think some of this alludes to more what we should be looking at rather than this sort of inclusivity obsession is looking at stats such as two-parent households. And I think this is something that a lot of people are a bit shy of talking about and aren't very okay, but it's clear. We know for a fact if you grow up in a single-parent household, regardless of skin colour, you're going to be at a much bigger disadvantage than a two-parent household. And the stats back this up. So the community that's outperforming the best and doing the best is typically British Indians. They have the lowest percentage of people that have single parents, so it's around 6 to 11%. The group that is doing worse when it comes to education, crime, employment is Black Caribbean. They have a 63% of Black Caribbean children grow up in a single-parent household. So before this poor child even has a fair opportunity of life, they're at a disadvantage. That's got nothing to do with skin colour. That's got nothing to do with race. That has to do with the simple fact that they are growing up in a single-parent household, and it's happening on a mass scale.
And you know what? Again, you're absolutely bang on. The Lammy report some years ago, David Lammy wrote a report into this, and he acknowledged the absence of fathers in particular and the social outcomes. It's a real thing, but it's an unfashionable thing to talk about. And this obsession with not offending people, it sets us back.
Well, I think what we're seeing, with a lot of the BLM movement and that whole initiative was to destroy the concept of a nuclear family, destroy the fact of this basic concept of having two parents. And, I'm not advocating people to stay in abusive relationships. We're talking about, a father being present. I'm not saying that they have to be married or in whatever partnership, just having two parents that are present in the child's life. There is, no matter what country you're in, you're at an advantage if you have two parents. And unfortunately, what we're seeing, and scarily now happening in the white British community, is that is also decreasing at quite a rapid rate. And I would much rather our government, other initiatives have a much more bigger influence on the impact on how important family is, because that at the moment seems to be a very unfashionable thing to say. If you do talk about family, which you're going to be labelled straight away on the spectrum of being right or far right. You can't have a discussion about talking about family at all, and I think that's deeply concerning.
Absolutely magnificent. Thank you very much. What a common sense blast we got there from Sunil Sharma from the Conservative friends of the Commonwealth, which is fabulous. Thank you. Now, don't go anywhere. We'll be getting all the very latest as the House of Lords looks set